Thank you for joining the session titled Voices and Choices with Marsha Woodland. Feel free to submit any questions via the Q&A window in the attendee hub. We will be monitoring the chat throughout the session. Feel free to submit any comments, issues, or concerns there. I will now ask Marsha to begin the presentation.
Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen. Hold on. Can you guys see the PowerPoint?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So hi, everyone. I'm Marsha Woodland, as introduced, and I'm really happy to be here. I just want to talk to you all today for a little while about the power of voice and choice. The first thing I want to start off with is the notion that help should never diminish hope. There are three things that I believe have been, two things that have been incredibly important to me on my journey, on my recovery journey. I've been on it for 25 years now. Becoming educated about what happened to me as a little girl, you know, the trauma that I experienced, which I talked about yesterday, you know, becoming educated about what happened to me and how it impacted me and options that I had to learn to navigate those feelings and thoughts and injuries, quite frankly. The education empowered me to become the driver of my own car, if you will. Becoming empowered started with hope, just a little bit of hope, you know, because when I arrived at, I don't know, any one of the many providers that I sought help from on my journey to healing from substance use and mental health illnesses, I was hopeless. And so becoming aware of how the things that I experienced as a little child impacted me as an adult, it empowered me to take control of my own life, you know? And I know in a lot of situations, consumers are not empowered. They are told what to do, when to do it, how to do it, with whom to do it, and for how long to do it. And so I am so incredibly grateful that that was not my story. You know, I was blessed and fortunate to have providers working with me 25 years ago who understood the importance of giving a voice to a child that was trapped inside of this grown woman's body who never had any say-so about anything. I never had any say-so about whether we were going to be homeless or not, who touched me, when they touched me, for how long they touched me. You know, it was really hard growing up during the time period that I grew up. I was the darkest person in my family. You know, the family was riddled with incest and all types of other things that we just did not talk about. What happened in the house stayed in the house. And so education and empowerment, I believe that these things are underrated. You know, we get so focused on diagnosis and medication and medication-assisted treatments and therapies that we forget about some basic, fundamental, powerful tools. And education and empowerment were two of those tools. It says that these things, they demonstrate positive cultural change through the use of self. You know, it was about me. Nothing about me without me. That's the concept. And then here, I just wanted to share some key points for you all to consider when working with someone like me. Someone who had a perfect 10 on the ACE study. You know, that's the survey where they ask you 10 questions. And depending upon how many you can answer yes in the affirmative, that would determine your likelihood to end up in a mental health facility, have all types of health disparities and issues and substance use, promiscuity, just all types of things. And so um, I get a lot of my information from the National Association of State Mental Health Program Directors or the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration, because I work so closely with those organizations as a consultant, and I have been for many, many years. And so it says 84% of adults, mental health clients, they have histories of trauma, 84% of them. And then it says 50% of females and 25% of males, they experience sexual assault in adulthood. It says, and this is trauma in adults as well, it says clients with histories of childhood abuse, excuse me, I will have to try and blow up my screen. The way that the trauma and the abuse impacts a person, it depends on how close they are to the offender, how early it was in their lifetime that it happened, you know, more time, how much time they spent in seclusion, medication, all of these things matter. And so here's another thing, and I'm reading this because all of this is about me. You know, 65% of all clients in substance abuse treatment report childhood abuse. 75% of women in substance abuse report histories of trauma. 92% of homeless mothers have severe trauma histories. And then it says almost 1/3 of all veterans seeking treatment for a substance use disorder have PTSD. I'm not a veteran, but every last statistic on the screen I can relate to. It's about me. And so when you look at this screen and you couple that with what I'm sharing with you regarding my life as an individual, then it should be easy for you to understand that it is very, very important when working with me to be mutual, to respect me, to be culturally competent. And if you're not, practice cultural humility. It should be easy to understand that safety is paramount for someone like me. It should be easy for you to understand that human connection is everything for someone like me. And it may not be easy to obtain, but it could be the difference in me living or dying. It could be the difference in me trying or giving up. It could be the difference in me leaving or staying. You know, it should be easy to understand if I'm gonna take responsibility and be held accountable for my recovery and my healing and my health, that you may wanna partner with me, collaborate with me, share the power with me. That's where the collaboration comes in. A lot of times when we talk about collaboration, we think about other organizations that can help us to achieve our common goal, which is the individual. But how about collaborating with the individual as a true partner, a true stakeholder? Peer support, absolutely critical, crucial. You know, it's invaluable. What about giving me options? What about reducing personal barriers? You know, it's one thing for me to want to get clean or want to be able to self-regulate and live a happy, meaningful life in spite of anxiety and panic disorder and PTSD. It's one thing for me to want to do that. But are there any barriers to me accomplishing this? And so it should be easy working with someone like me that comes from a past like what I've come from to understand that alternatives to using drugs, just asking me to stop using drugs, why don't you just stop? Okay, and do what? And go where? And with whom? You know, my use of drugs was a response to an incredible amount of pain and self-hatred and guilt and shame. It was the only thing that worked in the beginning, you know, understanding, understanding and not being misunderstood was like a breath of fresh air. To sit before people who understood that I was as screwed up as I was because of what happened to me, and not because I was a bad person. Oh, that was a relief to be in a judgment-free zone, judgment-free. And then trauma-informed instruction and care and practice is the reason why I sit before you today. Can we have the polling questions come up?
Yes, I've just opened the first poll.
Thank you. So would you recommend pausing here or continuing on and then doubling back?
I would recommend pausing here. I can read the question aloud
Okay,
to give some time for folks to answer.
thank you.
The current poll says, when is someone considered to be in recovery? A, when they stop using all drugs over a period of time, when drug use is reduced. B, when they say they are. C, while on medically assisted treatment. D, all of the above. And we'll wait for folks to respond, but you can feel free to chat a little bit more. And oh, we've got a couple responses already.
Thank you.
We've got one person says B and one person says D. When
Okay,
they are and all of the above.
when they are and all of the above. Okay, they say they are and all of the above. That's great. Okay, so this pyramid here, I'll come back to the question. You know, being silenced or not believed, it sort of made me feel invisible and muzzled for a really, really, really long time. And so someone trying to help me in that state, it would have been virtually impossible to help me. And so all of the things to the right of the pyramid are the ways in which all of the many wonderful people who were charged with getting me to where I am now, those are the ways, the strategies that they used to break the barrier, the wall, you know, because I just went into this protective shell, even though I was self-destructing, because to find the courage to tell someone what happened to you and they not believe you, oh, wow. I was silenced for a really, really long time. And so voice and choice, that's why it's so personal and meaningful to me. And then here it says, because health, home, purpose, and community. I'm sorry, one second, let me move that up. Because we address these things, everything else was made possible. And what do I mean by everything else? Everything else is my recovery, the recovery supports that were put in place, me being a mom, a daughter, a sister, an aunt, you know, and the list goes on and on. Because of voice and choice, I became an activist, an advocate, an author, a founder, an executive director, a CEO of 2 different companies. Because of voice and choice, I'm in the middle of a master's program. I completed my bachelor's degree, the National Honor Society, the Society of Leadership and Success, and Phi Alpha. And God knows I plan to do much, much more. But all of these things emerged from just having a voice and having choices. You know, all of these versions of me, I would have never thought any one of these things outside of being a mother, a daughter, a sister, a neighbor, and things of that nature. I would have never thought that any of those things were possible or resided within me. But it was voice and choice that opened the door to these things. Do we have any other responses?
Yes, we've gotten a few more responses. So about 2 people have said when they say they are, the answer B, and 5 people have said all of the above.
Oh, wow, that's wonderful. So I'm going to stop right there. So the other question, can we get that one to go out? And then I'll just pause for a few minutes.
Sure. Let me get that one going. All right. The second poll question that is up is, what do you believe about people's capacity to recovery? A, everyone can recover. B, some people can recover. C, only those with support can recover. D, court-ordered individuals can recover. E, all of the above.
Thank you. So we'll give people an opportunity to answer. This is the best part of my presentation, where I get to talk about the purpose that I found in all of my pain, where I get to talk about the residual impact of voice and choice, the residual impact of trauma-informed care, the residual impact of trauma-informed peer support, which I teach around the country, the importance of having providers who understand that sharing the power with me does not minimize their role. It doesn't minimize their expertise. Nothing about us without us, just being at the table, having the luxury, because that's what it was for me. It was a luxury to have some say-so about what happened to me in the beginning, because I've never had any say-so about anything, so to be able to say, I really don't want to do that. I don't think that's the program for me. Well, I want to further my treatment, but I don't want to go to inpatient treatment. It was amazing to be able to say that and not have people think that I'm just not really ready. I'm making excuses. She's just going to go back and use and things of that nature. That was the validation that I never had. And so all of the versions of Marsha Woodland, that I've shared with you on the previous slide, all of the work that I do across this country, it really did emerge with me finding my voice. Finding my voice and learning that I have choices. I believe that's when I really started to understand that I have the power to rewrite the narrative that was written for me so long ago. I rewrote a perfect 10 on the Adverse Childhood Experiences Survey, also known as the ACE survey. I rewrote that because I found purpose in my pain. And the acronym for that is PIMP, right? I rewrote that. Voice and choice opened the door for me to understand that I get to do it over. I get to do it over. And I shared yesterday that every major accomplishment in my life, I have done it afraid. I've done it afraid. Today, I'm wearing one of my signature shirts. Building Bridges Foundation, Domestic Violence, He for She Project. The He for She Project. I've done some amazing things, all from finding my voice, all for exercising choice, alternative, options. And so I don't want anybody that's under the sound of my voice to ever minimize the power of validating someone else's voice, of supporting someone if it doesn't harm them in any way, even if you don't agree with it. Just having the support of a peer or provider in something that I want to do. Of course, I'm going to educate the person about other options. But sometimes it's just having a voice that the person needs, and they may screw up. And we don't have to say, I told you so. So what would you like to do next, Marsha? How would you like to proceed? Is this the course that you want to continue on, or are we going to transition and go in another direction? That's the kind of help I received, and that's why I'm who I am today. And so I'm going to stop because I'm ready to really get carried away. I get so excited. But do we have any other responses?
Yes, we do. So we have 5 responses for A, everyone can recover, and 4 responses for E, all of the above.
Oh, wow. That's really good. So what I want to say about all of the polling responses is that all of the above for the first one is the answer. Every one of those options is correct, and when we get to a place where we understand that recovery looks different for everyone, recovery looks different for everyone. And I know in some organizations, in some movements, total abstinence is the goal, and that's all right. Not everybody seeks to recover in that manner. That's the manner I've chosen to go, but I support individuals who've chosen a different recovery path because they have a right to self-determination. That's their voice and their choice. There are people who just no longer use substances, but they have a glass of wine. I support them because at the end of the day, the recovery journey is about health and wellness. And if you're able to achieve those things, having a glass of wine, then who am I? I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. I suffer from a disease that any mood altering substance taken under the auspice of changing my mood, I would be in trouble. And that's just for me, and I'm humble enough to say that and own it. But not everybody needs that rigid of a program. There are people who believe that they are in recovery while they're on methadone or Suboxone, and that's okay. They are. If it is getting them closer to health and wellness, they are. And so I applaud everybody who answered the question the way that you did. There are people who do not support these notions. And for that reason, many people have been left behind to fall through the cracks. When we have rules and guidelines that are like the eye of a sewing needle, not everybody can fit through the eye of a needle. So what happens to those people? So it's really about being open-minded. It's about not being self-righteous or judgmental or cocky or arrogant. We don't know everything, and we don't know people's past, and we don't know their pain. And so I just try to encourage providers, whenever they give me a listening ear, share the power. Share the power with the individual. First of all, we probably already feel beat down, hopeless, in despair, don't even believe that we can recover. So partner with us. Give us something to look forward to. Invite us into our own processes. I don't want to just be a treatment plan. I want to be a part of it. I want to matter. I want my voice to matter. When I find it, It needs to matter. And I know that you may be the expert clinically, but practically speaking, I'm the expert because you weren't there. You weren't there. So share the power with me. You know, if you can hold on to me and engage me long enough for me to find my voice, don't be offended when I use it. It's not personal. You know, I know that the people working with me were probably like, oh, Lord, we have created a freaking monster because I don't have a problem letting them know I don't believe that's what I need to be doing. I think I need to do this. So I don't want to live there. They gave me 2 free apartments when I had 90 days clean. And I don't know if I was crazy or just beginning to find my voice, but I told them I just don't want to live there. First of all, I was afraid. Second of all, I feel like it was a setup for failure because they were selling drugs all over the property. And I just didn't want to do that. And I was punished for that. Well, we won't help you to find anywhere else to live. You're on your own. And I was. But I had a made up mind. Not everybody would have been as strong as me. But because I didn't do what they said do, they weren't going to help me anymore. But I made it. I made it. You know, I found my voice and I used it. And I'm going to continue to do that. If I could, I know that I'm supposed to stay until the end to ask questions, but would it be okay for me to pause right here to ask some questions, to answer some questions if they have any?
Sure. Do you
Okay.
want to stop sharing your screen so we can see you while you answer questions?
That would be wonderful.
Great. We have just the one question right now, but Alonzo Thomas wants to know what helped you to see through the hurt.
To see through the hurt?
Mhm.
Well, I was always able to see through the hurt, but my understanding of all that I had experienced, it was so flawed until I internalized it because I believed that I was somehow at fault. You know, I believed that I had to have done something because there were so many other children around me and I couldn't understand why everyone was picking me to rape, to molest, right? I just couldn't understand it, to beat up, to bully, right? And so I began to get a more therapeutic view of what I was seeing when I started getting educated about the impact of adverse childhood experiences, trauma, abuse, neglect, and all of that. That's how I began to get a clearer view and make sense of what I had experienced. Does anybody else have any questions or comment or anything?
I don't see any just now, but I will
Okay.
let you know if more pops up.
Okay. And so this book right here, this is one of the things that I'm very, very proud of. And anytime I think about voice and choice, this is the first thing that comes to mind right here. It's my first book and it's called Doomed to Be Nothing, Destined to Be Something. And if I didn't tell you this, I wouldn't be being honest. I had written this book and the title of it was Doomed to Be Nothing. But I kept writing, I kept working with my providers, and I kept trying, you know, to take care of myself and get better. But by the time I got to the last page of the book, that's when I wrote Destined to Be Something. When I started on the journey, I just felt doomed to be nothing. Doomed, clean and sober, but still doomed to be nothing. How is that? Because drugs were just a very small symptom of my problems. There were no drugs, probably almost 10 years clean, but I still felt doomed to be nothing. That is an incredibly sad reality for many people, not just me. But where do we talk about that? Where is it safe to talk about without being judged? That I had 10 years clean. I'm on the front lines, sharing the good news about trauma-informed care, about evidence-based practices, about alternatives to seclusions and restraints, about anger and aggression. I mean, I'm on the front line, but that's how I felt deep down inside. See, your body keeps the score. You can heal from trauma, but your body keeps the score. There's a book, I can't think of the author's name right off the top of my head, called The Body Keeps the Score. You can be triggered at any moment, without the proper support and resources and things of that nature, people can just give up. They can just stop trying, stop fighting, And so education, I want to say that was the most valuable thing they could have ever given me, is educate me about what happened to me. Bessel van der Kolk, that's right. Yeah, The Body Keeps the Score. I love Bessel. The Body Keeps the Score. Yeah, an amazing book. So, yeah. Invest in yourself. Whoever asked that question, invest in yourself. Learn about the ways in which you were impacted by what happened to you. Being able to make meaning of a lot of the things that I really did not like about myself. I mean, at points in time, I think I hated it, and I did suffer from self-hatred early on, but being able to make meaning of behaviors and patterns, wow, that was a gift to me, So I encourage you to find meaning for what you've been through, or help whoever you're trying to help. Help them to find meaning and make sense of it from where they stand, not from what the psychiatrist or the therapist or the counselor said. I found out for myself, So I feel like that's a great tool. Okay. So within the pages of the book, I found myself feeling like I had a muzzle on. And I had a lot of clean time. That wasn't the problem. And I found myself the day after Christmas one year, literally contemplating suicide or either homicide/suicide. I was contemplating this, clean and sober, beautiful home, nice vehicles, great job, in college, but still felt doomed to be nothing. Doomed to be nothing. That's sad, but it's the truth for many people. And so I began, because I did work on my spirituality all of those years. I was still battling with my faith, Christianity, because I just felt judged all the time, right? But I did work on myself spiritually. But as I was sitting there about to plan my own suicide, and maybe even what I was going to do to another person, I was reminded that writing saved my life early on, because I used to journal and write poems and music. It saved my life. Those were my closest companions early on, because I really didn't feel worthy of forming any close relationships with people. Maybe one or two here and there. But I was reminded that writing saved my life early on. And I picked up an ink pen and a pen, and I just started writing about all of my pain. My current pain led me back to my childhood pain, back So I was moving away from hurting myself or anybody else, and I moved toward my childhood pain. And that's when I really started to deal with the ashes, the little girl in the ashes, the rebel, you know. It was just a big mess. I was clean, but the mess was still there. And so I just started journaling. And then I started to say, maybe I should organize my thoughts and not just write. And I started to create folders from all of the various addresses that I lived at. I created some folders for my computer, and any given day, I just might start thinking about when I was on K Street, when I was in Butler Gardens, when I was here, when I was there. And when I just got it all out, when I no longer wanted to hurt the person, right? I decided to compile all of the folders into this beautiful, beautiful transformation, because that's what happened in the pages of this book. That little girl, that's the way I saw myself. I couldn't look at anybody in the eye. I felt like there was a film over me. I wasn't bright and glowing or anything. But this beautiful woman emerged from that little girl. And today that woman is me. I see that there's a hand up, or am I not? Oh, that's a comment. That's a comment. Okay, that'll be good.
So we have a comment from the chat from Diane Mang.
Mhm.
You are such an inspiration to me. What you say about voice and choice is so true.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If we have no voice and we have no choice, I mean, what do we have? What do we have? If I'm not valued enough, or I don't mean enough to be brought in, to be a key player in my own process, I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand that. How can you really help me and you don't know me? Yeah, you have your chart, but I have all of the information that you need. What I need from you is guidance, support, education, maybe medication, but I need to be a key player here. I have to matter, you know, and people are integrating peer support all across this country. But I'm here to tell you that in some organizations, peer support, those are buzzwords, and they're doing it begrudgingly. Peers are brought into agencies and isolated. Peers are brought into agencies and pretty much ostracized. They're not welcome, and I don't know what the organizations here are doing, but I feel pretty good about Ohio. I believe that the peers who are going to be integrated, that they're going to get the support that they need. Their voices will matter. They will be at the table doing policy making, rule making, all of those things. Otherwise, you're just doing the bare minimum to stay in good standing with funders and things of that nature. And that doesn't serve anybody well. We have to matter. We have to matter. And so, what time is it now? Okay, so we have a few more minutes. Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Do I have any participants who have experienced not having a voice in their process? Do I have anybody who's experienced going for help but not really feeling a part of the process? Like all of the rules and the treatment and the medication and everything was just done for them?
I'll let you know as soon as we get a response in the chat. But Kate Anderson had commented earlier It's walking alongside, not thinking you're the expert.
Oh, so powerful. Yes, I love it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Walking alongside. I'm going to use that. That is so powerful. I mean, if you've been excluded, if you've been abused, if you've been abusing drugs and you are abusive, right? Learning how to rightly relate to yourself and other people, those things are key in the success of your recovery and your health and wellness. If I'm still not able to self-regulate, if I still don't know how to interact and engage with other people, because I don't know about other people, but addiction kind of like eliminated my need to engage, interact, bond, build rapport. It was all about getting and using, you know? So when you remove that, I had to learn how to rightly relate to other people because I was afraid of everybody, you know? That perfect 10 on the ACE survey, I was literally afraid of everyone. I trusted no one. I didn't even trust me. There were times when I would walk down the hallway and be afraid, and it was just my shadow. That's how bad trauma impacted me. And so for me to get to a place where I can get on an airplane and fly to Lincoln, Nebraska, and stand on a stage in front of 99% white people, excuse my expression, and 1% Black people for the first time in my life and deliver a keynote address. And I did it afraid. I got on the plane afraid, right? For me to, I mean, I've been everywhere. And I was afraid to get on an elevator with a male, afraid. And I had male peers, supporters all across the country. So voice and choice is the doorway to unknown possibilities for a person like me. Yeah. Any responses?
Yes. Diane Mang says, yes, back in 1992 before peer support was around for me. Letitia Roden says, I don't feel I had a voice until I found recovery, but I learned how I had to make it heard. Deborah Brookshire, several of our groups stated that even when it wasn't as extreme as medication or hospitalization, just coming from trauma made us feel we had no choice. That just going into a counselor meant we had to do whatever they said, which led to our reluctance to pursue help to start with. Letitia also says, thank you, Marsha, for sharing my story of where I was and inspiring my story of where I want to be. Kay Anderson says, Ms. Woodland, you are the personification of speaking truth to power. God bless you. Renetta Scott, yes, in 2001 by a doctor who prescribed a medication I literally told him specifically did not work for me.
Those things, and these are good tears if they fall. I'm trying not to let them fall. But the truth of the matter is, I remember a time in my life before I found my voice, because I had PTSD so badly, where I was prescribed this medication. And the medication, I just don't understand. I didn't know about dosages or anything. I just trusted my provider. I trusted her. And for the life of me, these pills, I couldn't get up. My children went to school late every day. And for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why. Why are you not getting up to send your children to school, Marsha? Like, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't participate in my own day. Like, it was really bad. And, you know, it dawned on me one day, maybe I shouldn't be taking this stuff, you know? And she prescribed it 3 or 4 times a day. Like, oh, like I was short of a zombie. And this was her effort to help me to self-regulate and not be in a panic all the time and be like this. So the answer was to do me like this. You know, I just told her, you know, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't like this. I don't like myself this way. I'm trying to find myself, not lose myself or escape. You know, I wasn't trying to escape my problems. I'm trying to learn how to face my problems head on without going into a panic attack. I want to be present. I want to be available to my children. And I want to stay in my process, you know, not being in the process, not dealing with things head on, you know, not facing and standing in my truth had me knocking on the dealer's door over and over and over and over and over again. And I never wanted to return to that, but I might as well have. The medication was strong enough to knock out a bull. And so it was just getting to a place where I felt worthy enough, because I felt very unworthy. I sat many times, to be honest, and went along with things that I knew would not work for me. But I didn't want to ruffle any feathers. I didn't want to offend anybody. And then, you know, I just finally arrived at the place where I understood, Marsha, nobody is going to rescue you. The Lord God that you believe in, he's not coming down from the sky to help you. You're going to have to open your mouth. My mom used to say, closed mouths don't get fed. And while I craved somebody caring about me and taking responsibility for all that happened to me, I had to do it. And those people came because you know what I did? I started to attract those types of people. I started to mirror and teach people how I wanted to be treated. I cannot sit in a room, like I'm interning right now at an agency, where clearly some of the CACs, the Certified Addictions Counselors, they have some questionable practices, I'm going to say. And they're Black females when it comes to young, beautiful women entering the treatment center. I've watched it. I've been there for 6 weeks. And to be sure that I'm seeing what I just said, like these women are being targeted. And I believe from what I have witnessed, because I'm shadowing these people, I believe they're being targeted. Yes, they're promiscuous. They've been on the street smoking crack. Yes, they are promiscuous because they are beautiful. They're coming in with nice clothes. They don't look like they're tore up from the floor up anymore like back in the day. They're not coming in like that. People are coming in much sooner than they did back in the day. I came in 25 years ago, but I watch people who have character defects and they're triggered or they have baggage. I'm really not sure, you know, but I don't think the worst of them. I wonder, like, what's going on with her that she feels a need to keep attacking this young lady every day, coming to work and just picking on particular individuals who have a lot of the same things in common, young, beautiful, and coming in with resources, jobs, and things of that nature. And it's so terrible. It's awful. And what's more awful is that nobody says anything. Nobody says anything. Nobody intervenes. People are walking out of treatment centers and programs because we are allowing a culture to emerge that's sucking the hope out of people. If this is what I have to deal with, I might as well just leave, Marsha. I've felt that way before. If I can't say that I want to keep my good government job, so I don't want to go to a 28-day treatment program because that's what you think I need to do, I'm willing to go to outpatient. You're going to pick on me for the rest of the time that I'm here? No, that's not what we do. I love what she said about walking alongside the person, allowing them to have a right to self-determination and to make their own choices. Like, I'm never going to stop saying this. You know, I'm going to shout this to the mountaintop because it saved my life. I'm going to shout it to the mountaintop because it has kicked locked doors wide open for me. You know, finding this voice has taken me places I never thought I would go. I mean, hell, I was at the United Nations being honored. The UN, right? I came from ripping and running up and down the street with Ray Ray and Boo Boo in them, right? Whew, this has just been an incredible journey, and I just pray that I have inspired somebody. Please don't give up before the miracle. And if you are a provider and you're charged with helping people like me, please understand, without you, there would be no me. But just know your role, you know? Don't be afraid to share your power with me. It can never diminish who you are in this process. It can never diminish your education or your expertise or experience. Never. Working with me is the smarter way to go. You and I having separate agendas, it'll never work. It'll never work. And if you have to make me do it, do you really think you're gonna get buy-in from me? Probably not. And I'm just speaking from an honest place. I'm gonna pause right here again for a check-in. Do we have any comments or questions before
Yes,
we wrap up?
absolutely. We have about 3 minutes left, and Rebecca Bartoli has a question. What advice would you give someone who wants to have a voice later in their recovery after previously having their choices taken away?
Well, for one, it's never too late. I'm not really sure what the person means by having her choices taken away. You know, have the barriers to your voice been addressed and removed? That's one question I would ask. And if not, you know, what do you need to start to deal with whatever keeps you from using your voice? Yeah, that would be my response. It's never too late, though. Never.
Wendell Clayton has commented, that is an unbelievable journey. Good on you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I'm gonna go back to share the screen for the last slide, okay?
Great. The chat will close in 5 minutes, so we won't be able to engage with them after that.
No problem. So I just wanted to share this. This is the name of my nonprofit. It's called Building Bridges Foundation, and I'm located in Washington, D.C. and in Prince George's County, Maryland. I put some resources here, the Adverse Childhood Experiences Survey, as well as the Peer Engagement Guide, which I was a consultant for. This is an amazing resource right here. And then the National Association of State Mental Health Program Directors, their Center for Innovation in Behavioral Health Policy and Practice. My boss is one of the directors there. This is an amazing organization. They have lots and lots of resources. So does SAMHSA. And here's the website to my organization, Building Bridges for You, the number 4 letter U.org. Thank you so much. And I am grateful to have been with you guys for 2 days.
Thank you so much. This concludes the session. I want to thank you all for attending, and also thank you so much, Marcia, for your time and your words. Everyone have a great